Hey, my name is Melinda Russell, and I am obsessed with telling the stories of women involved in motorsport, young and older, from all walks of life, currently involved in a wide range of roles or sharing their stories from the past. I'm a wife, mother of 4 adult children, and a mama of 16. In 2017, I was searching social media for a group dedicated to women in motorsports. When I didn't find what I was looking for, I posted a message to a few racing pages to see if any women would like to connect with me. And now I have thousands of women and men who are part of the Women's Motorsports Network. As crew chief of the only media company dedicated to women in motorsports, I work from wherever my travels take me, publishing this podcast, the Women's Motorsports Network News online magazine, and Let's Talk Racing Live, my social media show. You will hear from women who share their stories from the grid of life, how they manage the messy and memorable moments of family, work, and racing. You will hear their tried and true secrets of success, and many other topics like friendships, family, hardships, and heroes that women deal with to balance the seasons of life. So grab your favorite beverage, pull up a seat, make sure you are comfy, and get ready to be inspired and encouraged from the stories on the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network, and I want to welcome you to our show today. My guest today is Bree Sandlin. Bree is the Vice President of Marketing for Lubricants for North America for Shell. She is based in Houston, Texas, and we were just discussing the weather, and I'm hoping she's going to send me some of her sunny, warm weather today because Kalamazoo is a little gray and rainy today, Bree, but want to welcome you to the show. First off, I'd like for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you better, your family, your pets, where you went to college, anything that you're comfortable sharing.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me, Melinda. It's really an honor to be able to join you on your show. So a little bit about me. I'm a native Texan. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I went to Texas A&M for undergrad, so I'm an Aggie. My undergraduate degree is in economics. So loved it, and so much that I went into my first job out of undergrad was consulting for an economic consulting firm. So I did that, which was actually corporate litigation consulting. So very different world than I operate in now. I loved it. It was very challenging, a lot of fun, but got to the point where they said, okay, in order to get to the next level in your career, you should consider a PhD in economics. And that was where I put the brakes on and decided probably needed to try something different. So instead went MBA route, got my MBA and at Duke. And so I'm also a big Blue Devil fan. And then from there, I went to work for Bayer, like the aspirin. So pretty traditional marketing upbringing, fell in love with marketing during that whole process, and came over to Shell in 2005. And I've been with Shell ever since. Most of my career with Shell has been within the lubricant space or the car care space, and a majority marketing roles, but also I've done a few sales positions as well. Really love our brands, love our business. It's just been a huge passion of mine and something, I thought I would be here for a few years, and I fell in love with it, and I've been here ever since. From a personal perspective, I've been married for 22 years this May, and I have about to be 17-year-old son. So we are full on into college search mode and driving, which is really scary as a parent. I have 2 cats, a boy and a girl, brother and sister, and they are usually climbing all over me, although I shut the doors today, so hopefully we'll keep them out.
So you don't look old enough to have a 17-year-old son, first of all. As you were talking about your career, I was thinking, how could she have done all that in this lifespan? But that's amazing. I just saw a thing on TV about FAFSA form and all the trouble and problems that they're having this year. And so I don't know if your son's had to fill out one of those yet, but I'm hearing that it's quite the challenge, and lots of colleges are not happy with what the government has done once again.
Yep.
So hopefully he has better luck than that finding a school.
I hope so. We're jumping in full steam in the summer for applications, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bree, how you came out of college, you got started in litigation type thing, and then when you finally got over to Shell. What did you think about working for? You went through quite a few different companies. When you got to Shell, it seems like a completely different kind of branding and products. Going in, what were you thinking, and what now that you've been there has changed?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I wasn't a huge car person growing up, right? I didn't have this passion for vehicles and understanding them. And so I kind of wasn't sure what I was getting into when I joined into a car care and a lubricants environment. But what's really interesting, as a marketer, the thing that gets us excited about marketing is when you have a consumer base, a user base that's passionate about your product. And while I don't think people are necessarily passionate about motor oil, so to speak, people are so passionate about their cars. And so to be able to connect with a consumer base about something they're passionate about, that I know I'm enabling, the performance of with the products I make, it's just been so much fun as a marketer to have that connection. And so to me, that's really what's kept me here and what's kept me excited about the position and the role is really that passion that the users bring to the table, right? The passion people have for their vehicles.
Well, and as we know, and I know you're, involved in motorsports in some ways, your product is involved, let's say.
Yeah.
We know that once people find something they love, a product, a brand, they become passionate about it. There's no way you're going to get them to change. And so once they are a Ford person, always a Ford person. If they're a Shell person, I'm only going to buy Shell gas. I know people that only go to the Shell station, right? Because they know the product is quality and what they're getting. And so when you market to people that are kind of, you're speaking to the choir in a way, it makes it more fun, doesn't it? Because you don't have to really sell them on it. They're just going to buy in because of your brand.
Exactly. And that's, you're right. That's what makes it so much fun is you get into this great, marketing when I started was a brand speaking out to millions of people. There was no dialogue. And now I think, with social media, with all these forums that, just different world. Marketing is just a different world. And now we really get that one-to-one feedback. And again, you get to interact with consumers and hear how they're using your products, how they feel about your products, the passion they have. It's so much more fun, right? To be able to get that one-way feedback or two-way feedback. Yeah.
So I'm in my late 60s and I love marketing. And I always say that if that had been a thing back in the 70s when I graduated from high school, I would have so gone into marketing. But you never heard about a marketing position. Of course, there was no social media. And now that's how I meet people. 90% of the time, that's how I meet women in motorsports, or somebody who will say, oh, you should talk to so-and-so, or, because they're involved in motorsports. And it's social media is how it's happened more so than not, or events I've gone to. But you didn't even hear about those kinds of things. And, that's how I came across Bree Sandlin, was at the Women in Motorsports North America event. And so the women getting together like we are now was not heard of in the 70s. I don't care what, kind of a job that you had or what occupation you were in. But don't you love the fact that even the women that you're marketing to now, it used to be mostly men, wasn't it, Bree? And now more and more women are getting into their cars and loving their cars and interested more in what goes into their cars.
Yes, absolutely. We Shell owns Pennzoil and Quaker State brands. So from a consumer marketing perspective, that's the vehicle that we usually talk to consumers through, is those brand voices, right? It's less Shell, it's more about Pennzoil or Quaker State brand voice. And what I've found is Pennzoil is actually highly, highly trusted amongst females in particular. And I'm so proud of that, because it's a conversation, it's a dialogue, and not all brands are speaking directly to women, right?
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we do so, makes a huge difference. And in fact, we've started to really diversify the motorsports investments that we've made to speak to motorsports events that really are catered to women specifically. So it's amazing to see that change. It used to be, when I started my career at Shell almost 20 years ago, I would be the only woman sitting around a table, whether it was internally or externally with customers. That's really infrequent now. Usually it's 50-50. And it's so exciting to me to see how women have really embraced this industry that we've jumped into. We have just as much passion about cars and vehicles and the mechanics of it as men. And it's exciting.
It is exciting, and it's just amazing to me, the women that I speak to or interview, and the education they have and the passion they have and the drive to do what they're doing. And it's typically would have been a man's what people would have thought of as a man's job.
Right.
And I just interviewed a gal. She's the race director at Slinger Speedway in Wisconsin. Okay. As far as I know, she's the only woman that does that job. Now, there's probably some woman somewhere that I haven't heard of, but the women are continuing to step into those roles. And, like she and I talked about, organizationally, typically, we women can do 3 things at once, right? And so there's a lot of things that women bring to the table that blend in with what the men bring to the table, instead of it being so one-sided either direction.
Yeah, I agree. It's exciting.
It is exciting. So tell me about the marketing that you do. Tell me a little bit more in depth about what that is, what you focus on, maybe what products you focus on, that kind of thing.
Sure. So as I mentioned, being vice president of lubricants for marketing, I market products in both US and Canada. So really kind of thinking across the border there. We also look at all the sectors that we operate in. So we talked a little bit about consumers. So that's primarily the passenger cars you and I would drive or be familiar with. And our outlet to talk to those consumers is really Pennzoil and Quaker State, which are brands owned by Shell. I operate in the commercial sector, which is really more over-the-road transport. So think of 18-wheelers that move goods across the country. And that's really diesel engine oil, right? So the oils that we make that are applicable to diesel engines, which is primarily our brand Shell Rotella.
Okay.
And then in the industrial and off-highway space, we market to a variety of subsectors that fit in there. So industrial, think about things like power, general manufacturing, where you have machinery that need lubricating pieces, right? In the off-highway space, it's something like agriculture or construction or mining, right? So we make products and sell services that fit the broad gamut of any place you need a lubricating fluid or solution. We want to be there and operate. So my team does everything from the products to the messaging, to the pricing, to the offers and value propositions we give to customers, executing our programs. We have a sustainability element. We think about digital enablement. So it's really the full end-to-end gamut of marketing that we are responsible for.
Wow. You would need a team for sure to handle
I
all of that.
I have an amazing team. Thank goodness.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Wow, that's a lot to oversee, I would think, on any given day. Um, what about electric cars? How do you feel about, they're saying we're going to be forced at some point to drive an electric car. How does that fit in with what Shell does?
Yes, it's actually, I think it's kind of an exciting avenue. Well, it will certainly not reduce the demand on motor oil, as there's no engine to
Right,
necessitate an oil change. It still requires a whole battery of fluids in order to keep. There's still moving parts, right, that have to be
right.
lubricated. There's a big demand on coolants. So is the battery,
Okay.
ensuring that it stays cool within the vehicle. It's just a different type of product, I think, that's going to be demanded as we move forward,
Okay.
and a different service interval, right? So you
Yeah.
not necessarily need to get your oil changed or have a service every X number of miles or months as you would with a internal combustion engine. It's going to look
Right.
really different. That said, I still think there's a great place where a lubricating product in a company like ours it will play and have a big say in it. That said, I think the forecasts continue to change, right? Consumer adoption of electric vehicles hasn't quite been what was originally expected. So I
Yeah.
think they keep pushing out when the internal combustion engine and the electric vehicle are going to change. I
Yeah.
think in the United States specifically, hybrid engines are going to continue to play a really important part of that transition, which is
Yes.
still an engine that requires an oil change.
Right.
So, I think it's going to be a long time, certainly way longer than I'm going to be running this business,
Yeah.
that internal combustion engine is going to be a significant part of our category.
That's I had a conversation about this with someone, and oh, California is going to be all electric, and I said, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, and I'll probably be long dead before that happens,
You and
even
I
if I
both.
live to be 100, because I just don't see that happening. But I was thinking about how it would impact. I get it that we've got environment to think about, and we have, but on the other side, we also have car manufacturers. I live in Michigan, so lots
Mm-hmm.
of car manufacturers here. All those different kinds. Would they be manufacturing electric cars? Yes, but a lot of jobs would depend on the kind of cars we drive now. And so, I know it's a topic that's kind of in the news more often than you would believe. But I'm also thinking that they're concerned about the environment, which I appreciate, and I
Yeah.
want to know that. But this, what does Shell do? Do you guys have anything where you're working on that has to do with environmental issues, or that's really not a problem with what you produce?
Oh no, we're heavily involved in initiatives that are sustainability oriented, um, across many of our product lines and the work we do with a lot of our customers. I mean, I think from a motor oil perspective, one of the things we can do is make machines more efficient, right? So that you have less consumption, and that's a big place where we play. So think about passenger cars. How do we get more synthetic oils into engines, thinner oils, so you get better fuel economy, right? As well as you don't have to change your oil as often, so you have better durability. That is a huge environmental impact. So these are the kinds of things that we think about and work on. But what's really exciting is, particularly in the space of motorsports,
Mhm.
we've really done a lot to decarbonize the sport itself.
Yeah.
And if you look at IndyCar, we're big partners of Penske, and hopefully we can talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that. But
Sure.
the series began using renewable race fuel in all of its race cars, actually last year in 2023. And this is a first for any US based, motorsport series, which significantly reduces greenhouse gas emissions. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the numbers that we were looking at were something like 60% compared to, more
Wow.
traditional gasoline. And so, I mean, I think it's initiatives like that are making a huge difference. We have a great partnership with Bridgestone. They supply all
Mhm.
the tires into IndyCar, and they've started producing a sustainable race tire for Indy 500 last year, right? And so, and we actually have a big announcement coming up in the Indy 500 this year around a re-refined base oil that we're going to be using in the IndyCar series in Indy 500 this year. So I think, these kinds of things are making a big difference in continuing to provide the love and an experience of a sport that we've all enjoyed, while at the same time recognizing that sport does have an impact on the environment, but there's things we can do to continue to love this going forward and be more sustainable. So
absolutely. I was hoping you were going to, discuss that a little bit, and because I had a little birdie told me that there were some things going on, and we'll look forward to the announcement for sure.
Good. Please do.
Yeah. So, I appreciate, the fact that big companies are, it seems like, oh, well, that's just such a little thing, here or there. But when you add everything up that the companies are doing, Shell's doing this, other companies are working on similar things or other things. And when it comes to motorsports, I think sometimes we get a bad rap about the noise and the pollution and this, and wear earplugs, and I love the roar of the engines and the smells. I love all of that.
Yeah.
And when they were discussing, we're going to race with electric cars, I said, that's the day I won't be a fan. I want to hear those engines.
Type in the noise.
Exactly. They're going to have some kind of AI technology that goes with the car so that I feel like they're still, running loud and proud down the track, because that's part of what I love about it. But, I think the companies don't get enough credit sometimes about the things that they're trying to do. Sometimes it's more, it's easier to criticize, those companies and how much money they make and all this, instead of looking into what they're doing and appreciating that they are trying to make things better while allowing us to enjoy the sport that we love, for sure.
A balance, right?
It's a balance. Yeah, it is, for sure. So what else is the most, maybe what's the most fun thing that you do in your job? What do you enjoy most about it?
There's so much. I mentioned I think the part that honestly, I already mentioned, which is the thing that's so much fun, is talking to consumers that are passionate about their cars. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about being in motorsports. I mean, fans of motorsports are diehard, right? And these people really, all of us collectively as a community, when you have a driver or a sport that you're passionate about, I mean, it's been amazing to see the way that the fans, embrace the brands that make the sport happen, embrace the sponsors. That doesn't happen in every sport.
No.
And to me, I think getting to talk to people that are passionate, that appreciate that we're there, that we're making something they love happen, that makes my job fun, right? That makes it enjoyable.
Well, and I think that's true about, part of what I enjoy about what I do. I get to meet new people. I get to have conversations with them. I need, make new friends about it. And it's the interaction, like you said, between the people. If I had to tell you a sponsor of the Detroit Lions, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
I don't have a clue, but I can tell you a lot of sponsors in NASCAR.
Exactly.
And we hear, this company was on a NASCAR car this weekend, and now their business is exploding. And that just tells you that the people that are at the track, the people that are watching, are paying attention to what's on the side of that car or what's on the billboards, around the track or whatever it might be. And, Shell's a big promoter of motorsports, and, people appreciate that. When I go to buy products, I look to see what kind of products are supporting what I love, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I love about being involved with motorsports from a Pennzoil perspective is that it's really a win-win. I mean, you asked kind of what I love about my job. I mean, again, what I love about marketing in general is this idea that I can find an unmet consumer need and I can bring a solution. I can help someone solve a problem that they're experiencing in their daily life. And one of the things that I think being in motorsports helps us do from a lubricants perspective is it's like this torture test, right? It's the most extreme environment our products could possibly be in. I mean, running at the highest temperatures, running at the highest RPMs, right? I mean, really, really intense environment. And if we can build oils that can survive and thrive in that kind of an environment, you know, we can take that technology back to road cars that you and I drive. And that's the whole idea, is that we're able to formulate these, you know, these unbelievable oils that solve everyday consumer problems. And a lot of the insight behind how we do that from what we learn from our experience on the track. So we're able to, you know, help this incredible sport happen, get to support, you know, the consumers that love watching it. And at the same time, we're learning and able to apply that learning back to our products.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's all about research and development. And then it's like learning what we want to try. And like you said, there's no better place to see how it's going to work when NASCAR testing or IndyCar testing, you know, run those lubricants through there and see how they do. And then the real test is the race, you know, the Daytona 500 or whatever it might be.
Which, you know, if I were to say what is my most favorite part of I mean, getting to be at the track as frequently as I do.
Oh, yeah.
No question. That's the most fun. It's just a ball. And now, you know, my whole family is glued to the TV on Sunday afternoons watching the race.
So do you get to go to the track often? And is it for like events that or people that are sponsoring a car, or what is it that you would go to do at the racetrack? I want your job, whatever that
is the way that we are involved in motorsports at Shell, right? Because there's a lot of different ways. I mean, again, locally through Pennzoil and Quaker State, we sponsor Team Penske, right? So Pennzoil is a big sponsor of Team, both NASCAR and IndyCar. So we are on the car for number 22. That's Joey's our big driver, right? But we sponsor the Penske team, so we put oils under the hoods of you know, all the drivers, Ryan, Austin, etc. On the IndyCar side, we are the official motor oil of IndyCar. Pennzoil is. We're also the official motor oil of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which gives us another namesake race, the Pennzoil 150, which is an Xfinity race. So again, you're at the track, just interacting with the team, understanding how our sponsorship's coming to life. Not every weekend, but frequently enough to make it worthwhile. We also work hand in hand with Roush Yates, right, in terms of engine development. They're the engine manufacturers for all of the cars that go into Team Penske. So we work hand in hand in terms of helping them to customize and develop the oil that goes into the cars. So part of being at the track is understanding how the oil is performing, right? So we actually have tribologists, scientists on staff that go to a lot of these races and test and optimize at the track. One of the other big sponsorships we have for both Pennzoil and Quaker State is a sponsorship with SMI, which is Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, right? So they own many of the tracks in the country. So we actually, through that, have a namesake race, the Pennzoil 400, and we also have a namesake race, the Quaker State 400. So these are our big tentpole events where we invite a lot of customers. We bring our influencers. We have a presence outside the track where we entertain, you know, fans, and this is really where we blow out, just have a great time. So those are the two for sure big events that I attend every year confidently.
Yeah, and like you said, there's just nothing better than just talking to the fans, and there's just nothing definitely. I love that part too when I
So
go to
much
the
fun.
racetrack. Yeah,
It's so much fun.
it
And that,
is.
I mean, that just touches on some of, to be honest, where we invest in motorsports as a brand. We're also involved in Formula Drift, right? So we sponsor
Oh,
Team RTR, Von
okay.
Bitten Jr. and Chelsea Denofa. We're there. We started a sponsorship that I'm really passionate about. That's really cool with a gentleman named Torsten Gross. He's a C6 quadriplegic, and he owns a team called Motorsports. Their mission is to normalize hand controlled driving and motorsports, and so
Really?
they're trying to help anyone who operates a vehicle with hand controls, to experience on the track. So we
Wow.
sponsor him. Another new sponsorship we've just gotten involved with is Rebel. Are you familiar with Rebel?
Yes, I am. I've interviewed several ladies from there.
Oh man, that's just like a life-changing event for many of these
Yes.
women. It's unbelievable. I've had a chance to go out to the finale a couple times now, and it's this awesome navigation rally. What I really love about that is that speed is important, but it's really about pace and precision, right?
Yes.
So that's also a place where, super harsh environment, our motor
Yeah.
oils have to live in these dirt tracks and sand dunes and extreme temperatures one way or the other, where we can also learn about how we perfect it, but at the same time getting to contribute to these women's lives,
Yeah.
and have them be a part of such an amazing life-changing experience is really personally powerful.
I don't even know if I could do that. I mean, I would do a lot of things, as far as a little bit daredevilish, but that seems really tough to me,
Yeah,
what they do.
yeah, I
You know,
agree.
the
Went out and
terrain.
watch some of these women. I mean, no electronic devices at all. You're
No.
operating with a compass and a map, and I mean, just to watch these women learn process and then to be able to an impossible course like that. I mean,
Mhm.
it gives you this, it almost gives you goosebumps, and just makes you want to tear up, like knowing the trials and tribulations they go through to accomplish something like that.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. So
And
for our
I hadn't.
part of something like that is, it's heaven for us.
Oh yeah, and I hadn't really heard about it. And again, somebody said, "Oh, have you heard of this?" And so then I interviewed several women, both in the magazine and for the podcast, and I just sat and listened because I was just like, I can't even believe this is happening, that this even existed, and wow. And they invited me to come out to a finale sometime, and I've got it on a bucket list because I just don't think you can even imagine what that's like until you see it,
That's right.
experience it.
That's right. And the
Yeah.
camaraderie, it's really amazing because these women are competing against each other, but the camaraderie and just caring and love that you feel when you're there, it's so inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. So
You got to
Bree,
go.
what have we not talked about that we should have talked about?
Um, I know one of the questions that you had posed, kind of thinking about this is, what are some career paths
Oh
in
yes.
Shell that are connected to motorsports? So if any listeners, have interest in being in a motorsports field, there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved. I think obviously you've heard my side of the story from a sponsorship perspective, to think about how we choose sponsorships and activate sponsorships, right? So that's certainly a piece of it. Our contracts and procurement team work hand in hand with the Team Penske's of the world, the Rebel Rallies of the world. So they get a chance to really get involved with the sport and understand the ins and outs of how to structure a contract and a sponsorship, a contract. We have formulators and scientists that I mentioned that actually are at track working with the race team. So if you're a STEM, oriented person, plenty of opportunities for helping to reduce friction in race cars. I mean, that is essentially the name of the game. And, we always need people that have that interest and can work, there at the track even. We have what we call influencer managers. So in addition to sponsoring the sport from an overall brand perspective. In many cases, motorsports being a big one, we work hand in hand with the drivers. And so we get a chance to work directly with them, help them develop their social media followings, put together some content that engages their followers, that also supports our brand and explains why we have partnerships. So that's another way you can get involved is helping tell our brand story via some of the partners we have on the track. And then we didn't really talk much about, outside of North America, Shell is a big sponsor of like MotoGP with Ducati. Yes. We're obviously Formula One with Ferrari. Uh-huh. And so globally, we have roles that get involved in motorsports. And there's every piece of it from developing the contract to really executing the contract. So people who set up our fan zone at the race and get involved there. And, so, I think there's many different opportunities to get involved in motorsports if it's something you're passionate about. Hopefully, people can find something interests them on the business side, but also gets them to experience their passion on the motorsport side. I know I have.
Yes. Yeah. And, when I first started this back in 2017, I kind of started by focusing on the drivers because that's who you hear about. You don't hear about the Bree Sandlins who are sitting behind a desk, right? Yeah. You don't hear about the engineers or the people that are developing the tires or any of those people. Yeah. And so one of the things that really is my goal, interviewing, career women like you that are involved in motorsports, is to let young women know that, yes, they love to drive and they were successful in quarter midgets and late models and whatever, but there may be a point where that has to stop. But they love motorsports. So now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a photographer. I'm a travel agent. I interviewed a couple ladies that do the hair and makeup for the TV personalities. Oh, now, wouldn't that be a fun job? I had, I never thought about that they had.
It'd be fun if you were good at that.
Exactly. And they both said, they both have hair salons and then they do this on the weekends and they just love it.
Oh, that's
so cool. There's so many opportunities. Yeah. All we have to do is just think about it. Just think, what do I enjoy doing? Okay, then I'm going to see how I can blend that with motorsports in some way.
Yeah, that's right. Find the intersection of those two loves because it most likely is there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's there, and if it's not already there, maybe you need to be the one to make the first
pioneer. Yeah,
be a pioneer. Yeah, for sure. Well, Bree, I've really enjoyed talking to you. We met maybe 2-3 years ago.
I think it's been a few years. Yeah.
Yeah. And just took me a little while to get connected with you here, but I'm glad that you were able to spend a little time with me today and share about what you do and encourage young women to, look for your passion in motorsports, no matter whether you're at the racetrack, behind a desk, or driving the car. We all have to work together to keep this sport running and keep it active so that, my granddaughter races, both of them used to. And, I see little girls all the time who are so passionate about driving. And so it just makes me feel so hopeful for the future for women in motorsports, what they do, what they can contribute. And you're doing that now, Bree. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you especially taking time today to visit with me. Did you have anything else at all that you'd like to share?
I think we covered it, Melinda. Thank you so much. And just right back at you. I really appreciate this podcast and what you're doing to encourage women to be involved in the sport and the industry overall. Yeah, there's a lot of room for women to pave the way here. And I think the more we talk about it, hopefully the more people will see themselves reflected in those of us in the industry and get excited to join themselves. So thanks for creating a platform for that.
Oh, I appreciate that. That means a lot to me that you said that. So, well, Bree, I'm going to let you go back to work. I'm sorry for that, but
Let's keep talking about motorsports. This is way more fun.
I know it is. And, honestly, we could probably talk a lot longer about it because we know some of the same people and they've become friends. They just do. And there's women and young gals that I've met through, like a Zoom call similar to this. And yet I feel like they're my friend after I've interviewed them and I've talked to them. And then when I meet them in person, it's like, oh, hi, it's so good, like you've been friends forever.
Yeah, lifelong, right?
That's the thing about motorsports. You just make some of the best relationships and friends. And, my kids played basketball, they did cheerleading, they did golf, all those sports, but it's not the same. It's just motorsports has a different air about it when it comes to relationships. So that's what I appreciate.
I'm telling you, it connects people, it connects brands to people, it connects cars to people. It's, it really, really, it's a great connection.
It really is. I'm so lucky that I'm a part of it for sure.
Same.
Well, Bree, thanks again. You have a good rest of your week. Send some of your sunshine north, please. We start racing, and Madison starts racing a week from Friday. So it's usually a blanket and winter coat type of night when they start, but maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be warmer.
Yeah, it'll heat up a little for you.
Hopefully. Well, thanks again. Take care.
Thanks, Melinda. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. Subscribe to my show and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you or someone you know would like to be featured in the Women's Motorsports Network News online magazine, this podcast, or Let's Talk Racing Live, my social media show, contact me via Messenger on Facebook at Melinda Russell, or send me an email at womensmotorsportsnetwork@gmail.com.